welcome to the July virtual crop intermission video. My name is Noreen Smith. I am the Product Development Creative Manager at Creative Memories, and I am always so excited to be with you during these intermission videos because I get to share maybe a few new ideas with you using some of our incredible new products. So this time we are going to be doing a fun project with Poolside Paradise. And I'm sure that you have been having a great time creating a bunch of different layouts, being inspired by everything that people have been sharing here in the virtual crop group. And I'm so excited to see more. I know that some of you aren't finished yet, or some of you haven't even posted yet. But I'm loving what I see so far, and I know you're having a great time doing layouts. But we're going to take a bit of a different direction, and we're going to work on a little project. We're going to work on a little mini photo folio this afternoon. And I used to do these kinds of things a lot, and I kind of got away from it. And I was recently at the Great Canadian Scrapbook Carnival back in the end of May, and I took a class myself, and I was inspired to kind of get back into doing some more crafty memory keeping projects. So I've got a fun little folio for you today. And don't worry, you can use it as a gift that you give somebody, or you can definitely incorporate it into your album. So it's not such an out there craft that you can't use it on a layout or in your albums. Okay, so let me switch you over to my table here and let me show you what we're going to be doing. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be using Poolside Paradise, and you guys have been absolutely loving this collection. Launched this past Monday, and we sold through the Buy It All bundles right away. I think they were gone by the Tuesday afternoon. Great collection for all of your summer kind of more grown-up feeling events, right? Pool parties, swimming in the the local community pool or the hotel pool, that kind of thing. And we know that you're going to be taking a lot of photos this summer, and that's why I thought it would be a fun thing to create this little mini photo folio. So let me just kind of walk you through it here, show you how my sample looks, and then we're going to create it together. So I'm kind of holding the top closed here, but you can see that it's going to just kind of pop open, and we're going to have one photo. Then we're going to open it up. We've got another photo here. This is going to open up. We've got some great decorations, but of course you could put little photos here. But these are going to open up, and you're going to have more photos. Let me get that in the frame there. More photos plus some room for either additional small photos or some journaling. And then you've got a fun little pocket here in the center. You could put a photo, maybe a little journal card. You could put a photo on the back or journaling on the back. So you've got lots of opportunities for more photos, adding more photos to your layouts. Now, I mentioned that this would be a fun gift. So maybe you've been on a girls' weekend or a family vacation, and you want to share some of the photos with the people who joined you on that trip. So this would be a great little thing that you could make up for them with just a few of your favorite photos. You can pop it into an envelope and send that off. Or of course, if you want to add all of these fun elements to a page, you can pop it into a peekaboo pocket. Now, I have a 4x6 peekaboo pocket here. Let me just get this in. If your final little mini photo folio is too big to fit into a 4x6 peekaboo pocket, of course, you could use 5x7 peekaboo pockets. So again, if you have, more photos than I've got in here, or you've used some foam squares to pop up some of your, embellishments and things like that, you can pop it into a 5x7 and still include it on your page that way. Okay, so definitely think about the fact that this is not only a fun little craft that you can make, but it's a great gift, and it's a great way to also include more photos, more journaling, more fun on your pages. Okay, so let me just clear this away. We're going to be using the bubble scalloped border punch, but I'm also going to show you a variation at the end where you can use a corner rounder. And of course, if you don't have the bubble scallop punch, you can use any edge style of punch. And I'll just remind you that if you flip over the punches, you can see what an edge style is, because the bottom edge there won't be any space. You can see how this space up here is cut away and this space is joined right to the edge of the punch. You can also tell from the front because the blue of the image continues down. So the silver is what gets punched away. So if you see silver above the blue and silver below the blue, you know it's more like a chain style. If you see the blue going all the way down there, you know it's an edge style. Okay, and I think I'm going to use some beige. I think that might be easier for you to see. I did use the dark sea green for my little sample here, which is one of the coordinating cardstocks. So you could do this in blue or island waters, the dark sea green, the beige, or even baby blue. So all of those would look great. So what we're going to be doing is, this is going to be super easy, one sheet of cardstock, and we're basically going to score, punch, cut, fold, decorate. Okay, I'm going to go through each of those steps with you. So let me just move this all off to the side. Bringing in my 12-inch trimmer here, and notice that I've already got my scoring blade out and ready to go. So that's the first thing we want to do. I'm going to just take our straight blade out, leave it off to the side, put our scoring blade in. We know we're ready to go. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is score. And you'll notice that our finished little folio is basically 4 by 6. So we're going to score basically at 4 and 8, and that will give us that kind of 4 by 6 in the middle once we fold and everything. But we also have to create a bit of what I call ease. We have to, kind of make it allowable for it to fold over and, not be kind of bursting at the seams. So I hate to do this to you, but we've got a couple of kind of wonky measurements in here. So we're going to score on either side of 4 inches. So that means we're going to score at 3 15/16, and then we're going to go on the other side of 4 inch, and we're going to score at 4 1/16. So basically one tick before 4. Give that a good score. I do it a couple of times, and then move your paper and so that the edge is one tick past 4. And if you're thinking about that in mathematical terms, basically that means that 4 inches is right in the middle of the 2 score lines that we gave. So again, you're going to kind of see those 2 scored lines. I don't know if the camera's picking that up that great, but it's there for a purpose, and we'll come back to it. So now we're going to move just along, and we're going to do the same thing at 8 inches. So we're going to score at 7 15/16, which again is one tick, for lack of a better term, right before 8. Then we're going to move it past 8 to 8 1/16. Again, one tick past 16, or past 8. Okay. So you can see that I've got 4 scored lines on this side, and they're both running in the same direction. So that's going to be our top and bottom. But before we start punching, cutting, that kind of stuff, we're just going to turn, and we're going to do 2 more scores, 2.5 inches, and that is going to create the little flap closures at the top. So this little closure here. And then we need to create the bottom flap, and we're going to do that by scoring at 8.5. Okay, so let me just go over that one more time real quick. One side we're going to score at 3 15/16, and then 4 1/16. then 7 15/16, and 8 1/16. That's the top and bottom. Turn it, score at 2.5, score at 8.5. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So before I put my trimmer away, I'm going to change back to my straight blade, because by the time I go to use it again, I will have forgotten that I left my scoring blade in there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to punch. And again, if you don't have the bubble scalloped border punch, you could use another edge style punch. Or if you don't have an edge style punch, but you want to use your corner rounder, we're going to save this part until a little bit later, and I'll show you how to kind of make a different version. But right now we're going to go ahead, and we want to make sure that the top and bottom, so again, you're looking for the double scored lines. You want those, the side that has the double scored lines, to run top and bottom, because that way we're going to punch along the top and bottom of our paper, okay, the top and bottom, and that's going to give us the decorative element. So in order to punch, again, we always start at one of the two black lines on the front of the punch. I like to start this way and feed my paper through there, and that way I can hold it with my right hand, punch with my left. So I'm going to line up the paper, the edge of the paper, with one of the black lines on the front, go ahead and punch, and then I feed my paper through until I can't see the blue image printed on the base plate. So I want to line up the punched shape with the printed shape. Once I can't see any more of the blue printing on the base plate, go ahead and punch again. And we just keep moving down. We're going to punch a total of 6 times. And we're going to do that on the bottom as well. Now I've noticed with this punch, sometimes, especially if you're punching with cardstock, you might have just a little bit of an edge to kind of trim off there. All right, so that's our top. Again, our double scored lines are running down top to bottom. So now we're just going to turn it around. We're going to punch the bottom edge. Same thing, line up the edge of the punch with one of the black lines, punch, move, cover up that shape printed on the base plate, and you're going to be able to get that done very quickly. Trim off any extra. And the reason that you might have that little bit of extra is because our milled cardstock has a tolerance of about a 1/16 of an inch. So sometimes it might be up to a 1/16 of an inch bigger or smaller than 12 by 12. So usually it doesn't make a big deal, a big difference on your pages, but sometimes if you're punching, you might run into that. Okay, so we've got our top and our bottom punched. And again, our lines are going up and down. Our double punch lines are going up and down. And the reason that we have those double punch lines, or double scored lines, I'm sorry, is so that we can create a bit of ease when we open up our flaps. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut along those scored lines from the bottom just to that first fold. And if it helps, let's go ahead and make the folds so that we can easily see where we're going to stop. Okay, so we're going to cut along these double scored lines with our little microtip scissors. I like the microtips because they can get right close to that edge. And then we're going to discard this little piece that we cut out. We're going to clean that up a little bit later. Basically, we're cutting that little strip away. Okay, so I'm going to do it down here on the bottom again. 1 and 2, stopping at my fold line and just cutting that away. Okay, so that's how it's going to look at the bottom. We're going to do the same thing at the top. Cut up to the line along the score lines and just discard that little piece. And don't worry if you've got, like a little bit extra right there in the center. We're going to take care of that later. And I want you to remember, when you're doing something like this, we're never going to get it perfect. But when we're making something handmade, perfection isn't the goal. It's the process, it's the thought, it's being able to do something, complete something, create something. And that's the real beauty of doing something like this. All right, so that's how this is going to look. So we've scored, we've punched along the top and bottom edges, and now we've cut out in between those double scored lines. Now I mentioned that if you don't have an edge punch, you can certainly use the corner rounder. It'll give you a different look, but it's a really fun look as well. So I have a piece of paper. I did the same thing too. I scored both directions, and then I cut out. I did not do any punching. Okay, so now I can go ahead and just round all of the corners of all 6 of the flaps. It's a bit of a challenge to get your corner rounder in the right spot. Seems to work a little bit better if you go under the edges. Okay, in the middle there. Let's just do all of these. The bottom is a little bit easier because, of course, you have more space. I tried when I was kind of, playing around with the measurements for this little mini photo folio. I tried doing, like 2 inches at the top and 4 inches at the bottom. And that gave me a nice big sort of pocket and bottom flap, but I couldn't get the corner rounder along the top edge. It was too short. So 2.5 inches seems to be the sweet spot. Okay, so now I have a couple of different versions here. And with either of these versions, you're going to be able to actually have a few different choices. Now, what I've done is I've kind of decided that I would have my sides open so that I can fold up the middle section to create a pocket. You could go ahead and create pockets on all 3. You could create pockets on the outer 2 and have the center open. You can do a lot of different things, okay? So to do what I did, let me set this one aside. To do what I did, I'm just going to simply attach the bottom. And for this, I like to use the max strength. Anytime I'm doing pockets, I just like to use that max strength. And I'm actually not even going to adhere that little top section where my punched shapes are. I'm just going to go ahead. And if you have a bone folder, if you got the bone folder when we had the envelope and bow creator punch board, you can use that. But of course, you can also use your good old multi-purpose tool. But you just want to score that fold. Now you see that I've got a little bit of tidying up to do here. And again, we're just gonna, do those little cleanups along the way. That one could have been a little bit shorter as well. But that's really what I have done for my particular folio. So again, I'm just gonna go through and fold everything and use my bone folder or multi-purpose tool to make sure that everything stays nice and folded together. And then again, for mine, what I decided to do was fold the 2 outside pieces in. And this is where that double scored line comes into effect. You can see how it creates a bit of ease. So depending on which way you want to, fold your pieces over, it will create the space needed for you to make those adjustments. So basically that's what I did. And then I folded the top part down. All right. You could also do a couple of different things. You could make it more like an accordion style. So maybe, let's just play around with this a little bit. Maybe I want to put these flaps like that, and then I want to glue this flap on the opposite side, okay, and bring that over. And that creates more like a little accordion style book, okay, so that when you'd open it, you'd have, you know, a pocket and a flap, and you could get a full-size photo here. Then you flip it over and open it, and you've got the pocket and a flap there. So really, that same fold, the same cuts will give you lots and lots of different looks. So you can choose whatever you want to do. And then, of course, so we've done it. We've gone ahead and scored. We've punched. We've cut. We've folded. And then the fun part is really just decorating. And again, if you leave some of the flaps open, you have room for a large photo. So I've trimmed my paper down to about 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then my little photo spot to 3.5 by 5.5. So you can almost get a full-size photo there. Remember that this footprint is basically 4 by 6, and that's why it will fit into a 4 by 6 peekaboo pocket. So again, you won't get complete full size, but you can trim them down just a little bit. And again, I've got several. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could put another on the back here. Okay, I cut one of the double mat cards. So when you look at the Poolside Paradise mat cards, some of them have doubles. Where's some doubles? There you go. So basically I took 1/2, cut that one in half, and made 2 little journal boxes there. You can see that for some of these, I've put a strip of paper behind my punched shapes so that when they're closed, you get, you know, a pattern. For these ones, of course, you're just going to kind of see the photo that's behind it. And then I've also used a variety of the sticker borders. So I've got 2 sticker borders running across the top and 1 sticker border down here. So lots and lots of different things that you can do to decorate. Got a couple of different patterns of paper here. And yeah, the sky's the limit. I do just want to remind you, because I forget about this too, but if you want to make some fun little tabs, you've got a couple of options. Don't forget that we have our tab punch. And of course, we also have our white memory tabs. And you can add paper to these. You can add inks or color on these. They're basically the same thing. So these ones are just peel off little tabs. The back side is already adhered. Let me just put it along here so you can see. Actually, we'll do it on the flap, so that it would be like a lift me, or move here, or lift here, something like that. So you can just fold that over and adhere it. All right. And then that becomes a fun little tab. And then you can see from the shape that our tab punch is basically the same shape. So you can go ahead and just punch this out. You can use some scrap paper, and then you've got the same kind of little tab that you just fold and adhere on either side of your little journal card or photo. Anytime I'm putting something in a pocket like that, I like to put a little tab on it. And then that kind of signals to the viewer that there's things in the pocket that they can pull out. Okay? So that is my fun little mini photo folio. I don't have a ton of decorations on there because, you know, the patterned paper, a couple of sticker strips, maybe a title, those all should be plenty. And of course, I don't want to, you know, take up too much space. I did mention that, of course, you can put this into a 5 by 7 peekaboo pocket if it gets a little bit too big. But I like having it as a 4x6 elements, because again, that's going to fit on my page, maybe cover up another photo. And I would recommend using the 4x6. So we've got a couple of different styles. If you had the 6x4, the adhesive strip would be on the long edge. So this way, you can attach it to your page. You can actually even flip it up, and of course you could put some journaling or another photo underneath there, and then have it covering up an element on your page. Now, the last product I want to remind you of, if you don't like the idea of this little tab flipping up, is our clear photo corners. And even though we've punched the edge of our top edge there, we can just kind of slide these on to our corners. Again, these are little products that, we don't often really make a whole hoopla about, because they're just such handy little products that we have available all the time. So there you go. So that's going to hold the edges of my little top flap down, and I can just slip them into the corners, the clear photo corners, when I've got it in my book. Okay? So that is a fun little mini photo folio that I hope you'll get a chance to create. If not, today, while we finish off the virtual crop, sometime over the summer to house all of your summer photos. So let me finish off with just a few reminders. I've got my list here for you. Again, keep all of those fantastic layouts coming. You have until Tuesday, July 15th to post your July virtual crop layouts here in the virtual crop Facebook group. And remember to use the hashtag. When you have your virtual crop flyer, remember that your hashtag is right there above the sketch. So make sure you add the hashtag, post it here in the virtual crop so we can all see it and be inspired. And then speaking of sharing and being inspired, if you haven't seen the post in the featured post sections, I want you to go and have a look. Because if you would like to share your layouts outside of the virtual crop Facebook group, if you would like to give Creative Memories permission to share it with our wider audience, we would love for you to kind of signal that or give us the thumbs up by also including the hashtag #MyCreativeMemories. So you're going to have the hashtag for the virtual crop layout plus the hashtag #MyCreativeMemories. And then you're also going to tag Creative Memories New in your post. And that way it will signal to us that we have your permission to share that beautiful layout that you've posted with our wider social media, with all of the followers that we have on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all the rest of it. So definitely think about that. And as I mentioned, check out the featured post for all of the details. And I've got one other featured post that I want to draw your attention to. We always have prizes during the virtual crops, but there's an extra chance to win a prize right now. You could win one of the 12x12 Orange Sorbet Shimmer Brilliant Suns album. And if I can find a photo of it, I'll insert it here. But you'll want to check the post again in the featured post section to find out how you could win just by following all of Creative Memories' social media channels. Okay? So again, find the featured post, probably be above the video when you're watching it here on Facebook. Look for the featured post, and then you can scroll sideways through the featured posts, because this video will be shown on Sunday. And of course, the featured posts that I'm talking about have been posted prior to the virtual crop. So again, scroll back and check out those featured posts for extra chances to win, plus extra chances to share your beautiful work. Okay? As we speak, I am probably lounging in the beautiful BC, British Columbia, Okanagan sun. Family and I are heading out right after the Friday kickoff for our summer vacation. So I will be scrolling on the beach and looking at the rest of all of your beautiful layouts. Enjoy the rest of the virtual crop. And thanks so much for spending some time with me today. All right, we'll see you again next month. Bye for now.